So hello everybody, my name is Visa-Valtteri Pimiä and I'm known in the demo scene as Visy, and I'm in groups such as Trilobit, Pilotrip, PWP, DSS, Byte Rapers. There's a lot of different groups I've had sort of worked with before, but I'm not really a member of. But yeah, a lot of different groups over the years. And I come to just talk to you about the demos and why did I get to doing them originally, and what the demo scene is and what demos really are about, and why people keep making this stuff in 2016 really. And this is a good sort of introduction to what demos are from Hungarian documentary of all things from 2012 that just is in English, and it's really the best movie made about the demos, a documentary approach to it. That just has a really nice approach to the making of the movie itself, because it's not just boring talking heads. The whole movie is kind of like a demo. They did effects, they composited in with the shot footage of demo scene interviews and people talking about demos. So I would just like to show you the first sort of 4 minutes of this, because it has a really good sort of demo-like introduction to what demos are. So here we go.
So, it continues, but where did it start? Independent artists, sportsmen outside the law. The colorful culture of the city has become a platform for a variety of forms of self-expression. A human thought, visuals, beats and melodies, the sculpting of scents and materials to unique shapes can all express a human emotion. But what happens if someone chooses to express themselves through numbers? In the 1980s, something changed the world forever. Computer technology, mostly due to the appearance of affordable Commodore 64s, entered households worldwide, providing the opportunity for everyone to create digital art. But existing art forms weren't the only ones to be re-implemented on these computers. Brand new forms of art also appeared, once thought to be impossible up to that point. Computers provided an opportunity for the creator to produce visuals and sound effects and combine them to create the ultimate audiovisual experience by using only the language of mathematics and writing program code without physical interaction. As a result of such techniques, demos were born, and with them, the demoscene subculture. A demo can best be understood as a spectacular animated music video, which is usually a few minutes long, and yet it's something entirely different from a traditional video.
Se nem videó, se nem audio file.
Ez egy futtatható program.
Igen, ez egy program, igen.
Ez egy olyan program, mint bármi, egy játékprogram például.
People who play video games may be familiar with the term demo. This software, however, should not be confused with the artworks demosceners call demos.
Van a játékdemo. A játékdemo az egy ilyen promóciós verziója egy játéknak, amiben benne van 2 pálya, teszem azt, és nem 200. Egy demoscene demo az egy művészeti alkotás, és semmi köze nincsen a játékdemókhoz.
They do have one thing in common though. Demos are made using the same techniques as video games, the same skills are needed to create them, and they both end up as executable programs. Of course, there are many differences along the way.
If you're making a game professionally, or if you're making a game even for you and your friends, there's a set thing that you have to follow. With the demo scene, you can pretty much break all that.
Sir Garbage Truck, American coder organizer who has moved to Europe, has a self-admitted problem with finishing demos.
Relocated to Finland, that's what they're talking about, mentioning Europe there, so yeah, there's some people there in the back who know this guy real well. And he never finishes or releases anything because
you can either do abstract,
he's lazy.
You can plan,
But I highly recommend watching all that movie. We don't have the time to screen all of it now. It's an hour and a half long, but it's pretty much just an hour and a half of that. So if you just want to know, get really into the detail of it, what the demo scene parties are like, what the different kind of demos are like, especially what Hungarian demo scene is like. This movie goes into really deep detail about that, but I definitely recommend if you watch it if you want to have that sort of movie-like approach to it. My presentation will be more or less really informal and me just showing you cool demos and just talking about why I like them and where all this came from really in more or less detail than you saw in the video itself. But I think that's a good introduction to it. So especially I'd say starting what the demo scene is, why people started making demos. I know the Finnish side of it really well because Finland was definitely one of the sort of first countries to get into it, one of the first countries where some of the big groups sprung up from, where one of the first real big demos were made in. So there's definitely a lot of reason to go into that kind of detail about it. So in the 80s, people started to buy home computers, as they said in that video, and people started more or less buying software, getting into pirating software as well, and at some point started actually cracking the games themselves. So instead of just downloading a game or mailing it to somebody, you would actually just get the game as quickly as it was released, remove the copy protection so you could easily copy that to your friends. And over time, people started putting these little messages in front of their sort of pirated copy of a game, just saying that, hey, here's this cool thing we did, like almost like digital graffiti, just to show it was me and my friends who removed the copy protection from this game, so we can just play it for free. Sometimes they even added stuff like cheats in there, so you could have like unlimited lives, unlimited ammo, stuff like that. So I guess over time there started to grow this rift between the people who were just interested in pirating games and pirating software and people who were more interested in doing something creative on the computer. So these sort of message screens just grow more elaborate over time. People started putting some scrolling text in there, maybe put a nice little bitmap in there just to show off. You can show a little cool picture here, have some custom music even, or rip a music from a game and put it in there. And somehow over time this all evolved from just simple messages to complete, almost like music videos, I guess you'd see nowadays days. But the big difference between a music video and a demo, of course, is that the demo is executed real time. It might have some content that's not like it's video content or something like that, but usually it's more like a game you don't have control over. So more or less it's what a game would do on your computer. Instead you just watch what it's doing, rendering on the screen, playing music, and you experience it, I guess. And this is all produced by a subculture of people who do it for fun. There's really no financial motivation here to do it except for the creative act itself, to participate in these small sort of competitions. It's not like you can make a living out of it, but you can do it for fun and just to explore the limits of it. And in Finland, demo scene was definitely the sort of breeding ground for the game industry here. So a lot of game companies in Finland actually started out as demo groups doing demos together. Like the most famous example, I guess, is Remedy, who started out as the the demo group Future Crew in Finland, started organizing a party that's still going on every year in Finland called Assembly, the largest demo party in the world. So there's definitely this huge legacy impact it has had on the globe, even the national market in Finland, by people who were in the demo scene and started doing something more commercially viable with their skills in programming, graphics, and music. Another company that was partly started by demo sceners is Supercell, which is like the most profitable company in Finland ever, I guess. So it's like, turns out coding graphics is actually pretty lucrative as well. But I guess to those people, especially nowadays, the demo scene is kind of a place where you can go to have fun, where you don't have like a price tag on everything, where you don't have to sell it to people. You're just doing something for fun. So let me just show you something here. So there's like tens of thousands of demos. It's almost impossible to make a selection out of it that would be like representative of everything you'd want to see, or even a sort of fair showing of this is the really good stuff. You're only going to see 0.001% of what is out there and what people have made, and everybody has their own taste on what's the sort of important stuff, what's the interesting stuff, what would be a good representative slice of the creativity of the demo scene. And like any art form, to me, demos are the kind of, it's just a reflection of the creators themselves. So everybody has their sort of own take on it. Everybody's personality kind of does tend to shine through on their artworks like that. Well, the first I'm going to show you is a kind of take on old like graphics demonstration reels from the 70s and 80s called computer graphics demonstration tape. And this is a demo programmed in C and C++ using OpenGL and shaders. So using the modern graphics stack, but just doing something completely different from games. really well demonstrates the fact that you can pretty much on the computer imitate any kind of aesthetic you want to. For example, here there was definitely some exploration of old like VHS type of effects, degrading of the sound to sound like it's recorded on magnetic medium and stuff like that. When you're doing it with the computer, you're literally, when you make a demo, you're creating the pixels yourself. You have, at least on some platforms like the modern platforms, you have control on every pixel on every given point of time. So it's pretty much up to you what you're gonna show. Of course, some things are just cost prohibitive or just very time consuming to create, depending on how you're gonna render it. But when you create a demo, there's really no set approach to what you're going to draw on the screen, what it's going to be. Is it gonna be 2D? Is it gonna be 3D? Is it gonna be cutout animation? It can literally be anything. So the fact is that people have been making this since the 80s, so there's bound to have been this organic growth of all kinds of cliches. So especially in the intro video I showed you, you probably saw a lot of cubes. Cube is one of these sort of cliche objects, the easiest 3D object I guess you can create reasonably well to spin around and show it's actually three-dimensional and two-dimensional. So, but we are at the point currently right now where the computer power, the computing power, the graphics power we have in our hands is pretty much limitless. So what some people have been doing is instead go back to the past to revisit platforms that didn't really have any home programming available back in the day, in the 80s, the 90s, even 10 years ago. One of these platforms, for example, the original Game Boy from Nintendo, which is a universally loved device, a lot of games, Pokemon, Tetris, Mario, there's a lot of huge franchises that everybody knows. Well, you wouldn't think the Game Boy as an artistic platform. Like some people who maybe follow the electronic music scene closely might know that Game Boy is used for doing electronic music. There's some artists that use it for live playback. There's some cartridges you can buy for your Game Boy to basically turn it into an instrument you can play live. But you couldn't really do your own software until recently, like maybe past 10 years, 15 years. People have had this copying cartridge available where they can actually put their own software running on the Game Boy. So obviously the demo scene approach to any kind of platform where if people find out that you can do something for it, you can bet that after a while there's going to be a demo for it. Somebody will just do it. So here's a demo from Sweden, from our neighbors. even photorealistic 3D graphics to going to literally 4 shades of gray on the small screen of Game Boy. That looks, by the way, really amazing on the actual Game Boy because you get this weird blurring effect because the LCD screen is old LCD from the 80s, so all the movement on the screen will be a little blurred, so it just looks a lot better on the actual one. It looks really sharp and super sharp, and first of all, grayscale, the actual Game Boy would look like, I guess what you call it, like puke greenish. It's really not that nice looking screen. But still. So the sort of, if there's an original platform for the demos, and for the demo scene, it's the Apple II. That's where all the original crack intros, the pirated games, that's where it all started from in America. But for some reason, for whatever reason, the Americans weren't that creative. They just went with single bitmap, maybe some text, no music, that's it. They went with the simplest single screen thing for their crack intros. It all really started to really turn into interesting, and animation started happening, new music started to come out, people started actually making the graphics themselves instead of just ripping them from game graphics. It all started in Europe in the late 80s. And the original platform sort of where it really took off was the Commodore 64, an 8-bit computer that was extremely popular, especially here in Finland and Germany and Sweden, and it just sold a lot. Like that was for most people from sort of my generation from the mid 80s, that's their first computer because that was the best sold computer, I guess, of the 8-bit era in Finland. But because people started with that, doing demos in the 80s, they never really let it go, and the hardware stayed the same, but people just get evolving with the style of the demos instead, because they couldn't really upgrade the hardware. It's always the same thing you bought back in the 80s. It's still basically the same thing. 64 kilobytes of memory, that 2-tone blue screen, 8-bit processor, and you have a disk drive, and that's it. That's pretty much what demo makers go with most of the time on the C64. So here's a good example of just what people can do when they have 20 years to evolve on a single platform without it being constantly fragmented and broken by operating system upgrades and whatever you have nowadays. So yeah, that was the sort of where you can go with just concentrating on making something that's just visually pleasant and as a coherent whole doesn't really have a stop at any point of the demo. It's all like just blends together in this coherent whole, and there's all those transitions between the different scenes of it are extremely smooth. So they didn't really do like traditionally in a movie you would just like cut a scene, cut a scene, cut a scene, cut a scene. Demos usually tend to have that certain organic flow to them. Often the stuff people, especially the stuff people like, tends to have this sort of coherent flow to it like that. And that demo definitely has it on an 8-bit platform. And definitely one of the big reasons why the Commodore 64 was so popular was because the sound chip, as you could hear, it's an amazing synthesizer really. It was designed by a guy who wanted to make his dream synthesizer chip, but he made it for a computer sound chip instead. So it's pretty much what you would find in a really cool high-end Yamaha keyboard in the 80s. That was what the sound chip was in the Commodore 64, so people could really get some, just basically the whole composition out of that one chip, as you could hear there. And of course, you wouldn't really be able to make it sound like that out of the box with some software in the 80s. It was all the result of both people just learning from the past, learning new tricks, exploring the hardware, getting to know it by making thousands and thousands of hours of music first before people arrived at that point. And it was just a matter of people being interested in finding out how can we, what's really possible here? What can we show? What can we do? What will be cooler than the stuff we saw last year? Let's see. Of course, you can always make a demo like that, which was all about the effects, what was all about the graphics, I guess. It's like all the pixels are exactly where you want it to be, and it's this cool demonstration of mathematics and 3D and compositing of animated layers together and nice selection of colors and stuff like that. But you can always just ditch all that and just go for the message. Try to have some sort of content where you're trying to convey a message to the people watching it. Maybe political, maybe sociological, maybe just random crap. It's really up to the creators themselves. But it seems like some people really want to make those kind of demos. And here's a good example of that kind of demo where at least on the surface it seems to be saying something. And this is by a friend of mine, so I do believe, knowing his style, that he's trying to really go deep here. So let's watch this. See what you think about it. sound synchronization is a bit off in that version, so let me just find another one. Thanks to the magic of YouTube, we can do that. You can only blame me because we recorded those back in 2010. Let's see, this might be better. Saying something really profound about life and society, I don't know. It's really up to you to decide. You can make that kind of interpretation of it, definitely, I think. But to me, that just goes to show that sometimes just the message is much more important than the way you present it. Like, that's VIC-20. That was even the one computer they did before the Commodore 64, which had even worse graphics capabilities and worse sound capabilities. But still, demo makers found their way to it and started doing something of their own on it. Let's see now. And sometimes, I guess, I'm just going to show you another demo of mine because those are the ones I can actually tell you about why I made it. So this is a demo I wanted to make as a sort of 10-year anniversary of our group and the way we make demos and the kind of demos we've made before, and hopefully in the future as well. For a console that's never had a demo before, the Neo Geo CD from Japan. So yeah, that demo was basically 90% of my work and me just telling other people what to do and telling them what my idea was for that part and then actually making most of it, except pixeling the graphics. So that was the work of artists and the music by a good friend of mine. But all the design, all the coding, all the effects, what's the content, that's all mine. So this is the one I can actually tell you why I made it like this. So my approach was, if there's gonna be a demo for a Japanese console that's never had any art on it whatsoever, except game art, of course, it might as well be in the style of a 16-bit Japanese video game, and that's what I was aiming for. Hopefully it showed through there. So I didn't really, that's the most deep I can go into it, because I wanted to keep it simple, something that people can just watch and enjoy as is. There's really no reason to think more about it than what it is. It's surface deep there. But of course, when I watch it, I can see a lot of just personal choices, a lot of things I cut out, things I changed, things I decided to have in different order, different colors, different speed, because it didn't have the right emotion for that part. And then I just know other people are going to watch it and they're going to have a totally different experience. So I guess with demos, you can sort of use the same tricks like you can in music videos and movies and TV. You can guide the mood of the viewer with the music and with the visuals to a certain path, but of course everybody will have a unique personal experience. It doesn't really, like, you can help them a little bit to show this is what I'm trying to sort of guide you towards, but usually people will just have a wildly different interpretation on it, or yeah, I saw it like this because this is how I respond to this kind of thing. So once again, both the demos are unique because they're created by underground artists that are not striving for mainstream acceptability, and watched by people who might have that technological understanding of what's going on, or they might just be looking at it on surface value itself. And to me, there's really no correct interpretation or approach to watching demos, whereas some people really get an enjoyment just looking at it and knowing how it's done and just understanding the deep mechanics of rendering and understanding, this thing isn't really supposed to even be possible on this piece of hardware. You did it anyway. How did you cheat, basically? So there's a lot of cheating involved. Even in this demo, the Neo Geo, for example, is a piece of hardware that doesn't really do anything except sprites because it was built for games. So full screen graphics are not really the kind of thing you want to do on it, but I did it anyway because I saw a way how to do it. So there was this cool saying in Finland that I always liked about the demo scene is the demo sceners are like ninjas. They have to go in through the window even if there's a door and it's open. I guess people in the demo scene really like to make it hard for themselves and to try to find the impossible path, the shortest path, the quickest path, the coolest path, whatever it is, something that's nobody really done before. And you already saw one demo from Hackers, but I'm just going to show another one because I like them. Here's a really gruesome and interesting piece of trivia about this demo. This guy you see moving here is actually created from importing a medical data set of a scanned dead human, and all that point cloud data is turned into polygons, I guess, or rendered somehow, and animated in real time. So that's literally some dead guy running in a demo. Like, you can't really go more literal than that. It's somebody's body data imported. So, yeah?
Which platform was it?
This is like multi-platform OpenGL, so it's Windows, Linux, Mac OS. Whatever renders OpenGL, it'll work on it. I'm just going to show you one more and then end this. Like I said, there's a million demos out there, not really, tens of thousands. You can check them out easiest going to Poet. Poet.net is like this kind of demo scene database. It's all here. The other one is demozoo.org, which is pretty much the same, but just a little bit more modern and a little bit more better coded and stuff like that. So here you can see information about, just go here, productions, and you can just start browsing, selecting your platform. It's all here. Every single piece of obscure hardware you can think of that somebody can code for is probably here. And a lot of different categories of stuff here as well. So, like I said, if you really want to get introduced to the demos and demo scene and know what it's about, make a demo. That's the easiest way to do it. Just do a terrible demo, then maybe do a better one later, but just do a demo. Doesn't matter what quality it is, doesn't matter how good you are. If you can do music, if you can code, if you can do graphics in MS Paint, you can do something for a demo. You already have the talent. Sorry?
Did you show Vati yet?
Okay, yeah, we definitely need to show that. That's a good one. So
That's also an acceptable level of...
yeah, because I just want to. That's a good point because I want to show that one because that's like, if this is the mainstream stuff, there's also the outsider weirdo punk stuff, which is this stuff, and we love this one. This is like true art. Masterpiece.
Onko kaapissa hammasraudat?
If you want to watch ISO demos, there's something like 800 of them. They've made a lot of, maybe not as good as that one. That's the best one, maybe. But okay, so this is the last one demo. This is maybe one of my favorites. This is on Windows as well. This is everything that I like about demos in a single demo, so that's enough for me.
A monk asked Kozan, "What is Buddha?" Kozan said, "A tongue."
So a good task for everybody to at home would be to count all the cultural references they did in that demo and how many mood shifts they had in the music. And yeah, it's kind of a, it's not like you'd watch something like a music video where it's just one song and one mood, it's multiple moods. But let me just show you one more short one, because I didn't show anything from Russia, so that's my favorite country of demo making, so I have to show something from our eastern neighbors. Here's the demo from the Russians, and then we can end. interesting fact about this demo is that all the effects you saw were converted GIF animations. So there was very little programming involved there, which to me just goes to say it's like some people are really vehement that demos are all about coding and making the really cool render, making the really nice effect. But to me, demos can literally be anything as long as it's an executable program. Whatever it contains, it's really up to the artists themselves. And I hope you remember that when you spend the weekend here, especially if you work on demos, is that you can just do anything. You can do whatever, however personal you want it. You can just do the demo you like. You don't have to follow any sort of recipe for the content. But a lot of people like to do a spinning cube because a spinning cube is nice to make and it looks nice. So I guess there's really no more to that than that. So enjoy the weekend, I guess.